Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make this very cute zigzag card that I've made here. It's not hard, but there are a few tricky little cuts that we need to get down. So let's see what we come up with. So if we were making this card with a piece of paper that did not have any directionality to the pattern, this is how you would want to cut your paper. Okay, so you can see where your lines are going to cut. So what you're going to do is you're actually just going to, on your piece of paper with a ruler, you are going to mark on the left hand side of your paper at the 5.5 inch mark and the 8.5 inch mark. And on the right side of the paper, make a little tick at the 3 inch mark and at the 8.5 inch mark, and then you're going to cut towards those lines just as you see here. So it's not, tricky at all with that. If it's got no directionality, you're just going to go with how I've got it here. So you're probably thinking, Jessica, but that paper that you're using does have a direction to it. Well, yes, it does. And this is how I figured out that you shouldn't do it this way if there was a direction to your paper. So here you can see how on one side of my card, the presents are actually upside down. So this is how I've learned this. So if you have a directional paper, that is what you do not want to do, because this is how I figured it out, and this is what happens if you do. Now, really, in the end, I'm probably going to make this card this way and have the presents upside down because it's not the end of the world, but if you don't want that, now you know how to avoid it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take our 12 by 12 piece of paper and we're going to line it up either in your score pal or get a ruler or whatnot, and you are going to make a little tick with your pencil at the 3 inch mark and the 8.5 inch mark on the left hand side of your paper. That's all you're going to mark for this one, okay? Then we're going to take our paper. Now, the arrow in this picture is actually indicating to the side of the paper where you put your tick. So where you put your tick should be down towards you. And we're going to make two cuts on our paper all the way across. We're going to cut at 5.5 inches, just like you can see here. Then you're going to slide your paper over and you're going to cut at 5.5 inches again. And those are the only two cuts you're going to make. And so what you're going to be left with is two 5.5 inch strips with your ticks at 3 inches there. Okay? Then we're going to go back to our trimmer with our pieces, and we're going to line up at the bottom in our cutting track. That's where our tick is going to be. So you can kind of see my tick there by the bottom arrow. And then the top corner of your paper is going to go up and line up in the top part of your cutting area there, as you can see in my paper. And then you're just going to cut between those two places. I found it easier to cut from the bottom and go towards the top so that the cutter didn't ball up the top point there. So if I started from the bottom, then I was cutting through the point instead of into the point. And then you're going to repeat the same thing with your other piece of paper so that what you're left with, you can see here, you're going to end up with two slanty pieces of paper that are exactly the same when you look at them. The next step is easy. All you need to do is score both of your pieces at the 4 inch mark and the 8 inch mark. So just as you see here, and on both of the pieces. It doesn't matter which way, if it's up or down or which way, as long as they're scored at 4 inches and 8 inches. Okay, here's the tricky part. We are going to make some cuts partway into the center of each of our two pieces, one from the flat edge and one from the slanted edge. So take your first piece of paper and line it up as you see here. You're going to take that first score line and you're going to line it up on the 2 inch mark of your cutter, as you can see here in my picture. Now we're going to have our cutting blade at the top of our cutter, and we're going to cut just enough so that we're just over halfway up. So at this point it's about 3 inches almost, so you want to go to about 1.5 or 1 3/4. And then you're just going to stop and lift your cutter up, and you're going to slide your paper to the right to make cut number 2. So you're going to slide so that your second score line is now at your 2-inch mark. And you're going to repeat that. And start with your blade back at the top again, and you're going to pull it forward. This one is about 4 inches high or so you're going to go to about the 2 or 2¼ inch mark, and then stop, lift up your cutter, slide it over again. This time you want the edge of your paper, the long edge of your paper, to be at the 2-inch mark, and you're going to repeat this again. Your cutter at the top, and you're going to pull it so that it's about halfway. At this point, we're at about 5 inches, so you want to go to the 2½ to 3-inch mark and just cut that far. Lift it out, and you're done. Okay, so now we're going to repeat the same thing with our other piece of paper, only we want to cut from the slanted edge towards the center of our paper. So because we're using cutters that have a lip at the top where it's easy to line things up, we're going to keep our paper exactly the same as we did the last time, but what we're going to do is we're going to move our cutter towards the bottom of our track and go from that end, from the bottom, and cut towards the upward direction. So again, we're going to line our first fold line, score line, up with the 2-inch mark, and then we're going to cut from the bottom. Notice where my cutter is in the picture, it's down at the bottom, and the arrow is going up. And you're going to go up until you hit about the 1½ to 2-inch mark again. Then we're going to lift our cutter up, we're going to slide our paper over so our second score line is on our 2-inch mark this time. Move your cutter back down before you put the track down, and then you're going to cut from the bottom about halfway up. Stop, lift it up, move your paper over so the edge of your paper this time is at the 2-inch mark. Move your cutter down below, push it up, and cut it to about the halfway mark again. Stop, remove it, take it out, you're done, the hardest part of the whole card. If you'd like to add a decorative edge to the tops of your cards, now's a good time to do it. Just make sure that you are punching it with on the slanty edge of your pieces, and you can do it to both pieces. So now we're going to turn one of our pages right ways up and the other one right ways down, and we're going to accordion fold where we've scored. Just make sure that on one of the cases you're folding it the opposite direction as the other one, so that the narrow end is up on one and down on the other. As you can see here in the picture, I think we'll explain it a little bit better. They just need to be going opposite directions. And then you can tell if it's right by standing them up beside each other with the tallest ends coming together in the middle. Next, you're going to pick up the piece that you've cut from the straight edge, and you're going to place it on top of the other one, and you're going to work those two cuts that we made, one from the top and one from the bottom, onto each other and push one down into the other so that both pieces sit flat on your table, and they line up and make a nice little zigzag pattern, as you can see here. Then when you're done that and you've got it there, you can just fold it up. I gave mine a nice extra little score with all the folds down just to sort of give it some shape, and you are finished. I added a piece of cardstock on the back in order to stabilize the card a little bit more, plus it gives you a place to write a message or put a verse on your card if you want to, and then you can just decorate it as you please, and you are all set to go. Here is one more angle of the baby card that I made in this tutorial, and also a happy birthday card that I made using this technique as well that you can see here. Now, keep in mind that I've given you the directions and specifications to make a card that will end up being 4 inches by 5½ inches, so just slightly smaller than your standard size card. You can see how some of my embellishments pop outside of the shape of the card, and that will make my card too big to fit in a standard size envelope, especially the happy birthday card where I popped the happy birthday up on little spokes there. I actually ended up making that card the size for a 5x7 and made it a 5x7 to use a 5x7 envelope. So just keep that in mind, that you don't want anything that's going to come outside of the edges of your card there if you want to keep it the standard size. If not though, by all means, have a heyday and have fun decorating your cards and making these fun zigzag cards. You can see at the end, I actually decided to make it into a gift card holder, and I added a little pocket on the back of one of the folds to slip in a gift card to go with the birthday card.